Hey there, welcome to Multimedia 110 Visual Communications and Design. I'm Curtis Stage. This is going to be a tutorial in Photopea, and we're going to be doing collage assignment for this project. This is inspired by Hannah Hoke. We talked about this artist in my lecture. And so we're going to be creating something similar. She has some amazing collage work. Now, these collages, of course, were done way before any digital imaging that came on the scene. These were done by hand, but her style is something we can replicate in digital imaging on the computer. And so we're going to do something like that. We're not going to do something exactly like what she did, but with the same kind of spirit of kind of putting figures together, elements of figures together. I like the eyeball, so we'll use an eyeball. I like the faces and kind of mismatched body parts is pretty cool. And then color blocks. I've done this tutorial in Photoshop and in GIMP. Today we're going to use Photopea, which is a free online browser-based editor that you can use if, let's say, you're on a Chromebook. It's completely free. I'm not even signed into an account right here. That is great if you make an account. There is a paid version of this too, which offers a little bit more in the program, but the free account is perfectly fine, and I'm not even signed in to this account. Now, I did download some files that we're going to use for this. They're in our Canvas modules. You'll see that I've got some JPEGs here. You'll want to have those ready when you're doing this tutorial. So I've got a red thing that I downloaded, a cream little, kind of rectangle, a blue rectangle, a picture of an eye, some women here, a big picture of a person. So we want to have these downloaded and ready to go in a folder before you get started because we're going to be bringing these into Photopea. All right. So let's get started with our document. You'll see over here you've got some possibilities right here. You can open an existing file from your computer. You can use some of their templates. I'm going to click Create New Project. And over here, you can see that they've got some settings already ready to go, right? 8.5 by 11 is what we're going to use. If you click this, it'll default it over here. And I can look at it in inches. That's probably a little easier than millimeters, right? Or centimeters or even pixels. But this will tell you what this 8.5 by 11 dimension is in pixels, which is really handy. I'm going to go to inches here. We can stay at 300 dots per inch, which is pixels per square inch, or it could be 200, but I'll just stick with these settings right here with the white background, and I'm going to click create. Once I do, you can see that I can expand this window a little bit more right in here, and I'm going to actually expand and cover up. Let's see if I can get this a little bit bigger. Oh, I can go up here and go expand. Oh, it's a little small. So there's sometimes it gets a little wonky here with its sizing. So this could throw us off a little bit here. You just have to be kind of ready for that. Now let's look at some of the panels here so we kind of know what's happening. So we've got the most important panel we need to know about is layers. This is where all of our action happens with this document. And this is very similar to Photoshop. In fact, this looks very close to Photoshop when you look at this. There's some default panels that are happening here. So, and I can make them bigger or smaller with these little buttons right here, just down to icon view. And here's my layers panel right here. Just pop out. Okay, so if I want to get more real estate going. So what we want to do is we want to start by bringing an image into Photopea from our desktop, importing that image in. So we can either drag it in or import it in. So I'm going to take and find my cream image here from my desktop that I saved. I'm going to bring this in and drag it into Photopea, which is great. I can easily drag that right in there. Now, once I get this image in, I want to fill it. I want it to fill this whole document size. You'll notice it has these little uh, squares on the corners. This allows me to transform this or make it bigger or smaller. I can also rotate this image as well. So I can get in there and rotate it. And to do that, if I hover my mouse towards one of the corners, you'll see. Let's see if I can get this screen bigger here. This is just going to zoom me in on this. Command plus on a Mac or Control plus on a PC will zoom your canvas in or out. So Control plus, but I can't get this window bigger. It's interesting how Photopea has done that. Let me hit escape here and get out of this. Some reason it's just super large or super small. Okay, well, we'll just have to deal with it like that. Okay, so Command plus zooms me in right here. I'm kind of as big as I can get right here on this. Okay, so if I hover my mouse towards the edge of this, you can see I can rotate it, right? And then I can expand it and make it go fill up this whole white background. Command minus will give me just so I can see this. And then I can move it around, and I'm moving things with my arrow tool up here. So this arrow tool allows me to move objects. Now, if I go back to my layers panel, you'll see that this image that I brought in went in as a new layer above my background. Awesome. Right, that's what I want here. Let me collapse that back down. There we go. So that's our first image in there. Our second image that we're going to bring in, I'm going to bring in the blue rectangle. I'm going to drag that and put it in. And when I put this in, notice in my layers panel, I opened this up, it went to the bottom. I'm going to actually drag it up to the top above my background and above my cream here. Close that down. And now I'm going to take this and maybe move it down here, give myself kind of a little bit of a little area that I can put an object in. So maybe something like that. Again, we're going to be creating something that looks sort of like a Hannah Hawk collage that you can see over here. And in many of her images, you'll see she'll have big empty spaces for things. And or big graphic spaces, right? This one, this background here is kind of a cream paper texture, this shape. I really love, oh, this one's similar to what we're doing right here, right? We've got this eyeball right here. I've got this paper shape here, this shape here, this shape here. Awesome. So that's what we're kind of doing right here, putting this shape in here. And again, I can grab a corner, make this bigger or smaller. It's not distorting, it's keeping its aspect ratio because by default, it keeps the relationship between the height and the width the same. If I do want to distort it, I could hold Shift down while I grab this. And if I hold Shift on Mac or PC, see how it distorts this shape when I drag this. So if I don't hold shift, it keeps the aspect ratio. This is just like Photoshop. So I'm going to do something like that. I can hit the check mark to apply that transform. All right, so if I look at my layers panel, I've got 2 layers in there. Let's bring a third image in now. And this one's going to be the red box or red rectangle. So here we go. And again, it went on the layer below. I'm going to put it up here, drag it up above, right? This is hierarchical here. That means that the whatever's on top in the layers is what's visually on top here. So let me close that. I'm going to bring this up to the corner, and this time I want to rotate it and kind of have this corner piece, and I'm going to make it bigger. And this is going to, I don't know, something like this, maybe something up in this corner right here. Now, again, we're doing this demo for you to follow along, and my goal for you is to do this demo, create something like I create, and then make your own based off of this demo. So when you're making your own, you can use your own imagery, you can update this. We're making this look like, a Hannah Hawk, piece, but you could definitely, kind of create an image that's more updated and contemporary for the world we live in right now. Hannah Hawk was doing this back in the 30s and 40s, and we'd be doing this in our time period, and we can make this look more contemporary. So you can create your own, and you can look at my examples that I have in Canvas for this project, for this assignment, and you can look at those examples of what students have done, and it'll give you an idea that they've kind of updated this. It's great. Okay, so awesome. I've got this in here. Now let's bring some imagery in that are some people. So I'm going to bring this image in here of this woman's face. And again, it went below everything. So we bring it up here. I'm going to bring it up and put it below the red rectangle. but above everything else. So this red rectangle is going to overlap her. And see how that happens? If I look at this layers, see the red triangle now, it's a triangle in the corner, is over the top of her head, right? I'm gonna close this. And I'm gonna have her kind of like this, peeking out, something like that. But I don't want all of this stuff in here. So I like the size of her and all this, but I don't want any of this. So we're going to use some tools to get rid of this area out here. There's so many ways you can do this. Now, if you take my Multimedia 100 class, which is a beginning level Photoshop and Illustrator class, you'll learn all these tools, and it's super exciting to be able to do all this stuff in Photoshop. We use Photoshop in class. As a student in multimedia, if you're a multimedia major or photo a certificate major, you're gonna get free access to Adobe Photoshop, but you can use Photopea or GIMP. And there's another program that I really like called Affinity that's even better than this program, and that's a downloadable program, and that's also free. And Canva has bought that recently, so you can use Affinity, which is very similar to Photoshop. Anyway, a lot of the same tools. We're going to use a tool that cuts out this area here with her arms. We're just going to have her face. Okay, so let's go up here and look at our tools. We've got a lot of them here. We're just focusing on a few. I'm going to go here to this polygonal select tool. There's an equivalent tool to this in Photoshop, right? And all these other programs we're talking about. So when I use this tool, I'm going to see how it automatically has these lines. I'm just kind of showing you that's how I make what's called a selection, right? That's how I make a selection. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually select around her face. So I'm going to Command D or Control D, deselect that selection. And I'm going to go like this. I'm going to start up here with this line and kind of go down and towards her cheek and kind of down in her chin. And look, Hannah Hawk's collages were cut out with scissors, right? So and they weren't precise, and we don't want to be precise with this. So I'm just kind of, these are like cut out in chunks. And you think that I would go up here and go around here because that's what I want, right? To cut that out. I could do that, right? So I can go up here and close this, and then I've selected this. But if I hit delete on my keyboard, it's going to, and I'm on this, if I'm on her layer, I got to make sure I'm on that layer. If I hit delete on my keyboard, let me close this. Oops, it took my selection off. So let me do that again. Let me go back to my go around here, up here, up here, up here, here, and go around here. And I'm going back and I double click and I get these dashed lines which look like marching ants in Photoshop. If I hit delete on my keyboard right now and I'm on this layer, right? It's going to delete her on here. Oh, I must rasterize this image first. So let me go here. Let's see if I can right click and make Command D, deselect. Sorry, I gotta rasterize this image because I dragged it in. It was a, let's see, convert to smart object. It won't let me, hold on. Give me a second here. Sometimes even Curtis has issues. Let me just, you're like, if he has issues, what am I gonna do? Okay, so let me just double check on this. I don't need that text layer. Let me go back here and Command D, deselect. I can deselect that selection by doing Command or Control D. So let me close this, just open up this. When I click on this layer, right here, this little symbol means that it's rasterized, or it means that it's um, a smart object. So I want to rasterize all these shapes. So I probably should do that. I'm going to right click on them or control click and rasterize them. This image already seems rasterized. So I was on that layer, and let me close let me close this. And then we go back to my polygonal lasso tool around that. Taking a little longer than I wanted to go around this. Okay, so I've got that shape, maybe. it's a little funky, right? It's a free program on the browser, so you gotta. So I've got that shape selected, and if I hit delete on my keyboard here, do you see how it's deleted her face? I don't want to do that. So Command Z or Control Z undo. I want to select outside of this. To do that, I can go up to select and I can go to inverse. This is the same as Photoshop, a little bit different than GIMP, same as Photoshop. So now I've inversed that selection. If you look closely, I've got these marching ants or this like, dash selection that I made, but now I also have one around the canvas. Do you see that? Now I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard and it got rid of everything on that layer except the face. Awesome. I'm going to go to my um, arrow tool, back to my arrow tool, Command D deselect, go to my arrow tool and make this kind of tuck that back up there and make her face a little bit bigger. Again, I don't want to distort it. I'm not holding shift down. Make her face a little bigger and I can rotate it a little bit if I want to, but I want to kind of hide her, one of her eyes at least a little bit. So something like that. Awesome. All right, phew, got that. Now this next one should be easier, right? So let's bring in the picture of the bodies, the girls with the bodies, and we only need one of these. So let's see the layer that it's on. Okay, it went on that layer. I'm going to bring it below the layer of the head and the red triangle, but above the blue. So I'm going to close that down. Good. And I only want one of these bodies. So let me click on that layer. I'm with my black arrow, my gray arrow tool up here, my move tool, and I'm moving it into place. And let's do that same thing that we just did. I can do it like this. I can just leave it right out here for a second. I'm only on this layer, so it's only going to work on this layer. Let me just make sure that, right, it has that little symbol in there. So I'm going to right click and rasterize this. Okay. So that just means that because I dragged it in from the desktop into the browser, so it needs to be kind of rasterized so that I can edit it. Don't really worry about what rasterizing means. You'll learn that if you take a Photoshop class, but it means that I can edit this picture now. Okay, let me close that. So I can move this around with my arrow tool. I can go here to my polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to select kind of around and I want her arm. I want to kind of get around her body here. It can be a little loose. It doesn't need to be fully, right? This is just a collage. I'm going to go back up and I'm going to close this. Okay, now we want to get rid of everything on the outside. So again, I go up to select and inverse, and now I can click delete on my keyboard and it deletes everything in there. Now I still have those marching ants, right? So I'm going to Command or Control D, and that'll deselect that. And now I go to my Move tool, and I'm going to move this underneath and rotate it a little bit. So I've got this, right? Something like that. Kind of cool. And I could move it above this layer, the head layer, so her arm is kind of sticking out. That could be interesting. But then if I do that, I'm gonna have to really get rid of all this stuff here, right? Because that's not gonna make sense. So if I want her arm sticking in front of her cheek, I could do it, but I'd have to get in there real close, zoom in, Command plus, and I'd have to continue to I'm on that layer, so I'd have to continue to get rid of this area. Watch, I could do it. So I could use this tool right here. Again, I can go to the polygonal lasso tool and just get in a little closer. And now, right, get in around that hand a little closer if I want to. Something like this. I'm fine tuning this now. And let me just cut off this part right here. Now I'm going up and around like this, and I'm just clicking as I go, and I'm gonna go back to the start. You see how I did that? I basically just I didn't draw. Okay, so Command D, deselect. With this polygonal lasso tool, this is a drawing one. This free form one, I can draw with this, right? So I could just draw this out and do that, right, and go around. that would do that. But with this polygonal lasso tool, I'm clicking. So I'm click, 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 click. I'm going around the hand. Now, if you've done a little Photoshop before, you can do this other ways. But for all my beginners here, we're just keeping this simple. And I'm going around this shape, and I'm basically saying this is the area I want to now get rid of. And now I can hit delete on my keyboard and all that's gone. Command D, deselect. Now in my layers stack, if this is above this, watch what happens. I can kind of go to my, oops, I wasn't on my right tool. I want to go to my arrow tool. And now I can kind of do this. And it looks like that hand, see, I don't want to go up here, but I can kind of do this. And it looks like the hand is above. If I get, it's close enough, right? Cool. Command minus zooms me out. Awesome. My space bar moves me around. So let's say I was zoomed in. I can hit my space bar to move me around. See that? And I don't know why, again, I don't know why this, it's a browser based thing. So I don't know why this is not big, but so I can move around in here. Command minus zooms me out. And now let's do one last thing in here. Let's bring in the eyeball and put that down in here and make it smaller, obviously. So I'm going to size that down, right? Just for composition, go to my arrow tool, move it around in here, use my space bar, and I can see this hole. So maybe I want it, oops, maybe I want it over here like this. And maybe I want to cut around this. So let's cut around this and use a different tool. Let's go use that lasso tool that I was talking about. So I'm going to use my space bar, move around. I've got to rasterize this. So I'm going to click on this, right click, rasterize. Now I can edit it. Okay. And now I'm going to go around this tool with the freeform lasso tool, this one. So I'm going to go just kind of loosely. I'm going to draw because not everything has to be geometric. So I drew around this and I want to inverse it because I don't want to delete now. It'll delete the eye. Command Z or Control Z, undo. If you're on a PC, it's Control Z is undo. Command Z if you're on a Mac. So I want to go up to select and inverse. And now it's hard to see, but the inverse is going around the whole canvas and around the eye. Now I hit delete and there we go. Command D, deselect. And that looks pretty good. This is, right? I could add some more stuff in here, but I think you're getting the hang of how this kind of works in here. We've got multiple elements in here. You could try, I want you to do this demo. And when you turn it in, of course, you're going to turn it in whatever you turn into me. It doesn't have to be my images. If you want to use other images, you can, but you're going to turn in the final image and you're also going to do a screenshot of your layers that you do, because I want to make sure that you're doing this using layers and you're not just using AI to make a collage. I like AI obviously for research and to help out with things and maybe even to generate image elements, but not to generate a whole image, right? I don't want you guys relying on AI to make complete posters, complete graphic design. I want you to learn the tools if that's something that you want to do. Definitely you need to learn the tools. If you're just a visual communications major, not just, but if you're a visual communications major, you might use AI more than other people. But just like in writing, you don't want it to do all the writing for you. In design and making art, you don't want AI to do all the work for you. It just becomes AI slop. So you're going to create a screenshot to show me what you've done. On a Mac, you can do Shift Command N and then do a screenshot like this, and it'll save for you. And you have a little screenshot to your screenshots folder. And I want you to turn that in with your document that you're going to turn in. How do we save this? We're going to go to File. We're going to save, and you can do export as right here, PNG or JPEG, one of those two. You can save this as a Photoshop document, by the way, and open it up then in Photoshop, which is really cool. So I'm going to go to export as PNG. And when you do this, you'll just save it as this size, totally fine. Click save, and it's going to save to your downloads folder, right? And it'll be called the new Photopea project.png, right? Maybe ad blocker. I don't know. I might have had an ad blocker going. Hey, no ads have come up, so my ad blocker blocked the ads. Awesome. Anyways, that is our demo in Photopea doing a Hannah Hawk style collage. Really great for doing, right, poster work and fun to be able to do on your own. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.